moving into the general discussion. I think that as far as our show goes, the plot will definitely we'll probably want to, ironically enough, probably incorporate use of the world between worlds. And maybe this is why, maybe this story can be why it's a little known device that gets, put on ice until later on when we bring it up in Rebels. That could be an interesting plot. I think we were talking about having uh, a couple of
I
brothers start at the plot. I mean, we want to touch on why we need a plot or why we don't need a plot, because plots are
Okay,
for.
so let's actually do a quick little recap on what we had in mind so far. So we had these two brothers crash on a planet and have to learn the Force effectively to survive. And then the last time we
Jack
had
Sparrow, they got marooned
or
on a
marooned.
planet.
Okay, they are down on this planet and they need to use the Force to survive. We then have a group show up that they teach how to survive on the planet. If we're going to use the world between worlds, I would argue that the only acceptable use for it would be that they wind up using it to cause them to be marooned on the planet. And that's why
Self-fulfilling.
and that's why they don't use it any further and don't mention it, because they're worried that somebody else will get themselves stuck in a paradox like that again.
That has potential.
Paradox episodes usually do help instantiate rules.
Right, and it self-contains it, so we're not seeing this happen again and again and again.
So there's the
so it
conflict.
doesn't become a crutch.
Hold on. There's the conflict. It's the two brothers, or I would almost want to make it a crew thing. I like ensemble cast stories myself. That's probably why I love Star Trek so much, and why I could only limit myself to 3 main characters in my book. I think that we could have an ensemble, but either way, so like one of the brothers is like, you were in the engine room, you marooned us here, you're the one that brought us down. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about, I didn't do anything. And they like put him through the lie detector stuff or whatever and try to like make sure he's telling the truth, and it's like, he's telling the truth, he didn't sabotage. Like, I saw him sabotage the ship though. Turns out it's his future self that sets that into motion. And so yeah. Jonathan G94 says, latest Ahsoka episode was good, not as huge a banger as last week's. All right, well, good to temper expectations.
Then we've got something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to that.
At least it doesn't suck. Hopefully Andor episode 6 is good.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, I think if we're going to use it, right, we should use it, though, as a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, that way we close the loop on it, and it... Because ultimately what I want to do is I want to make sure that anything we're going to use, the reason why, like Yoda didn't know about it and go like, oh, because like we completely destroy the original trilogy. And, like if in the prequels, at the end of the prequels, Yoda is able to be like, oh, fuck, man, we just got our asses kicked. Oh, I know, I'll just go back in time and undo it, right? Because then it becomes the solution to every problem. But if it's intentionally hidden lore, like if it's intentionally like, no, we got to erase all records of this thing because it can cause it's too dangerous a tool for anyone to have in their toolbox, then it makes sense, right? And it makes sense why we're just rediscovering it again and why, it's going to be used very sparingly down the road, right? Anything that we develop for this that is, too MacGuffin-y, we should be eliminating in a, okay, no, we can't pass that knowledge on.
Which to me isn't that hard. I think like even Family Guy nailed it. There's the episode like maybe 2 episodes into Stewie using time travel, where they go back to one of the first episodes and you have like 18 tries at fixing the problem without fixing the issue. And then at the very end, Stewie just kills himself. and just starts where he's at. He's like, I'm gonna keep all the information. I'll just
Yeah.
go back to his timeline. And to me, it's like, that's what we should do. If we are going to use the Veil of the Force, what we should do is we should make it so chaotic, so grotesque, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, that we then are done with it. Like, the reason why it worked in Ahsoka was an accident. The reason it worked in Rebels was an accident. And therefore, the chaos and the Force are given their authority again. Like, the part of, like, to me, I think this is the saddest part about what you all missed on Ahsoka, because this is actually like the only part that I really liked. We didn't see fake Anakin. We saw Daddy Anakin.
Yeah.
Not Master Anakin. Not Snips's father figure, Anakin. No, we saw Anakin who woke up after his son whooped his ass.
Yep.
That
We
was
saw
the guy who
redeemed
was
Anakin.
coaching Snips. That was the guy who knew what he was doing when he pushed her to the dark side and pulled back.
Oh, wait,
because
hold
he
on,
did
hold
it to
on.
his son.
Hold on, John. Are you suggesting that the whole reason that Ahsoka gets her training the way she does in the Veil of the Force is because of the heroic actions of Luke Skywalker?
No, dude, I'm a shill.
Good answer.
Dude,
Yeah.
bomber answer.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Where are we at? What, an hour
No, that to
33?
me, that's like the story is when it comes to, like, that's the part that I feel like Dave Filoni and honestly I just think that like most of these big guys are just afraid of is like, you've gotta have a breaker. You've got to have an episode that goes, you guys really like time travel? You think that's a cure-all? Like, Back to the Future, the whole series was literally time travel will never cure your problems. The only thing that will is self-discipline. That's what Star Wars was always about. The difference between the light side and the dark side is discipline. Independent, individual desire to be better than how easy it is to be that bad. That's all it ever was. That's, to me, that's the hard magic system. You're not a dark side guy because the world was tough. You're a dark side guy because you caved. You're a dark side guy because you're actually a weak POS, and that's your problem that you need to handle. And that's what, like, when Anakin and Obi-Wan were fighting, Obi-Wan is saying, Anakin, you idiot, get your head out of your butt.
Yep.
And Anakin's saying, what are you talking about? It looks great in here. And that's the fight, because that's truly the difference between a good person for goodness sake and a good person because society demands it. Palpatine literally was president of the galaxy, an elected official, the epitome of good for the society's sake. And what did he do? He became a tyrant because of darkness, because of how easy that power corrupts. Versus what we got, like what we're getting with Ahsoka even, like we're getting close. But like the sequel trilogy, it was, no, Kylo fell because his master was a dick. No, Kylo should have sought a new master and we should have learned about gray Jedi. That should have been what Rey was looking for Kylo, who's supposedly this master who figured out how to do it by himself. And then she meets him and he's like, no, my master Luke just got scared of me and I've been eyeballing it ever since. And we find two confused individuals, which is what I think our show should be. So if we ever mess with the Veil of the Force, if we're ever going to mess with time travel, we obliterate time travel. We Back to the Future it. We make it so that no fan ever goes, yeah, that's a great way to solve the plot.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that the origins of this do in fact need to be the explanation, the deep dive explanation of, oh, we could actually use this show to go into the Star Wars multiverse.
the planet is the center of the veil of the Force, and it's their dreams. So they keep playing out their future when they go to sleep, and we see them dealing with it. Because to me, what the veil of the Force, even like what Ahsoka was teaching it is the ethereal. It's the quote unquote heaven where you can see all time. And technically, if you have the Force and the mastery of the Force, you can interact with time. And yes,
Yeah.
we get time travel.
Also, real
But in
quick,
reality, like what the veil is like, what if you had control over your dreams because the planet
Actually,
brought you to like Inception plane?
oh, dude, no, I got it. That isn't the planet they're on. That is what the two of them become at the end.
Bro, and that's why they are okay with the just constant fight of the light and the dark, is because they both finally, oh bro, hero's journey, but it's more along Buddha's journey.
Yeah.
So they both achieve force enlightenment, and they meet on this plane. Well, they're right at odds, like right, they're both generals of opposing forces. And that's where we get the true yin and the yang. Is like one is the white within the black, and one is the black within the white. And when they achieve enlightenment, they both wake up on the plane between, and they're like, "What are you doing to me?" Just like how Rey and Kylo were doing it, but way better, because they both know that this was possible. They just didn't know they could do it on accident. And so then we get this huge ethereal war between worlds fight. And then when the fight, like when they finally come back to their bodies, everything just ends. All the troops just walk away. And that's where we leave the whole end of season 1. Is what did they say that ended the fight without the final fight?
maybe.
And
Well,
then,
the final fight is what we're watching play out in the like in the Star Wars mainline story, right?
exactly.
These guys are the wills. These guys are the force that's moving the force that's moving the forces around, right? They're playing chess indefinitely. And
oh, dude, they go into the Enlightenment and never come out. And the warriors just keep asking them, "Sir, do we attack? Do we attack?" For days, for years, for centuries, for, wait, are we still fighting? And these two have not woken up.
yeah, like
That's
like,
exactly
this is-
how you start the Force. The calls. Who's the voice? Who's the voice of the dark side? One of the brothers. Who's the voice of the light side? One of the brothers. Who's right?
neither.
Nobody. You need both. You need light to have dark. You need dark to have light. You can't do one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So we can do the theme is the Jedi's enlightenment, or the Force enlightenment.
Well, I definitely want to get clear separation between the Jedi philosophy and the Jedi religion.
Absolutely. And
that's where I want to get the source. Like, I want those books that we see just burned up. I want those written. That's what I want our series to be, is the writings incepted. And then from there, we see the dark side is just the religion of the books. To me. Writer's room, obviously, we say what we all feel. But that to me is like what is religion if not the legal enforcement of belief?
Well, you guys have heard my whole argument on religion and how it's structured and sponsored, right? You have the initial idea, and then you have people, like, which is usually something along the lines of try to be nice to each other even though people are jerks to you sometimes. and then everyone starts defining how to be nice, right? We can have that play out as part of our plot line, right? That these are the guys that sat down and they're the messianic figures of the Force, or the modern Force religions. And then we have the schism between the two brothers, and it plays out like a Magneto and Professor X, or a these two diametrically opposed sides that neither are technically wrong, but neither are also technically correct either. And as time goes on, more dogma is built up, more rigid they both get in their belief, until the original thought process, the original concept of, look, let's just be nice to each other. Like, let's try to, let's do things right by each other, gets lost along the way. We watch as spirituality becomes religion, becomes dogma, becomes rigid adherence to rules, as opposed to what it was originally, which is spirituality.
Yeah. Jonathan G94 writes in, I think Anakin is the guardian of the Force, similar to Aslan's role in Chronicles of Narnia. The world between worlds was based on the wood between worlds in C.S. Lewis's mythology. Interesting, because I felt that was more like the plane from the Great Divorce, but that was just me.
Honestly,
or draws a sci-fi
was
comparison similar to Q in Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan 94, I highly recommend you read up in Alchemy on the concept of the infinite corridor, which is where C.S. Lewis got his idea, and really the original idea got codified. So check it out.
But to me, again, I don't think Anakin isn't Anakin. Like, what are Force ghosts?
Oh no, I'm saying Anakin is Anakin, but what I'm saying is he has become more.
Oh yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is he's not. Like,
okay.
Who is he tied to? Ahsoka. Who's Ahsoka tied to? Her master, and that was what the whole episode said. Like, I feel like you would obliterate this series if Ezra saw Anakin.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
Then he's Aslan. Then he's a human-made god, and it works in other literary devices. But like, the way I love this episode, like the parts that I did like, is the fact that Anakin isn't Anakin in episode 3. He isn't Anakin before Luke. He's Anakin after everything Anakin's been through. For the first time ever. Literally, we've gotten one scene where Hayden Christensen played Luke's dad. And that was the edits of the original trilogy. And that's in episode 6 where they edited in Anakin instead of Darth Vader. And that's the only time we've ever seen Hayden Christensen play Daddy Anakin until now. And I mean, when you I was like hating on Andor's for its like dialogue, and I'll hate on Ahsoka too, because everything except for the Anakin snip scene, Anakin talks to Snips exactly like he was told to. An older brother who had a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Not an older brother who's talking to his younger sister. An older brother who had a kid talking to his younger sister saying, no, I was way wrong. I did not realize how to raise you until I met my adult son and realized I could have been a lot cooler. I could have been a lot calmer. I could have told you everything that was going on, but I didn't know that until I met my son. And that was the voice of Hayden Christensen in this episode. But that to me is like, that's the part of Star Wars that's being butchered. Star Wars is those horribly boring, archaic, man's man, adult stories. How to be an adult. When everything, including all, well, hear me out. When everything is in your way, when you feel like you have a bigger destiny and you decide to take yourself on that journey, i.e. Luke, i.e. Anakin, i.e. Obi-Wan, is the abyss wins or the abyss loses. And that's what Star Wars was always trying to tell us. And I feel like even in Ahsoka, like, Ahsoka passed the abyss a long time ago. Like, when she abandoned the Jedi right before Order 66, that was her abyss. And I think this one should have been better where, like, I don't know, I feel like Ahsoka should have took that to Anakin. Like, I told you. I told you could have been better, and you fought me. And instead we get this, okay, she is Obi-Wan. But
All right.
that's taking it for me. That's going from like a 5 to a 7. You hit emotional resonance, you cut the heart, and then you suture the wound, and you make me feel better for having been stabbed. That's the W. Versus the, all right, that was a good game. Glad I was there.
Yeah. Daniel Larson writes in, I'd argue Anakin was a vision of Ahsoka's dream. I don't think he's in the world between worlds. I don't agree, but I've already said my piece on it. Jonathan G94 says, the fact that Anakin said, I've heard that before in response to Ahsoka, which can only be a reference to his fight with Luke in the dark side, or the DS means that, or it means it was all real. Ahsoka could have heard from Luke about that fight, but I also think this was ambiguous enough to go either way. And then Jonathan G94 responds, I do love how Anakin took that kid to the face with stride. And that's just it, Daniel Larson, You're right. Even with what little we've seen of the Veil of the Force, this is still ambiguous enough to go any direction. There's no hard line that's been confirmed one way or the other. But that's what I prefer in spiritual interpretation of stories. I don't want super hard rules. I like our idea of using the Veil of the Force to explain why it needs to be contained by taking the opportunity to validate various multiverses in whatever way we want to, because KOTOR's canon, I don't care what anyone says. And then from there, we can continue to go into these different spiritual ideas, but I don't think that we should ever, at any point, necessarily lock anything down into a hard rule. Because the thing is, when it comes to spirituality, things can change very, well, seemingly easy, I guess. Depends on your perspective. But yeah, Jonathan G94 clarifies Death Star. Oh, right, yeah, in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, that's what I think that he was, actually, Anakin. And yes, I think that he is, but he's already moved on beyond this existence. He won't, if he were to go back with Ahsoka to Ahsoka's reality, he would be a ghost.